at making very slow, controlled decisions is by far the best thing you can do.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Welcome to the Pitching the Truth podcast. My name is Gregory Paul, and it is my honor to share with you how the truth can lead to stronger relationships, better communications, wealth, and happiness. Come with me each week as I share lessons and insights that I and others have learned through the power of truth. You will reflect, ponder, laugh, and even sometimes cry. But I promise you will learn how to improve your life to become a stronger and better person.
Hello and welcome to the Pitching the Truth podcast, your weekly resource for finding the truth in your life and helping you to improve relationships, business, and your own personal well-being. My name is Gregory Paul Kotsaftis. I'll be your host today, and I'm here looking through a recent email I got from a friend of mine. Actually, he's also my coach. His name is Ed Tate, and we're talking about some different things that I can speak upon, some different ideas. And he was going back through my book, The Truth About Lies, How Admitting Nothing Can Cost You Everything. And he talked to me and he said, you know what, you should really talk about controlled decisions. And I think that this is something that's really relevant for a lot of people, especially in today's world where everybody's moving so fast. Everybody's running quickly. They're on their phone. They're quickly texting people back. They're not checking their spelling. I'm just as guilty of this as anybody. They don't use proper grammar. Okay, I've done that too as well. And they make just blatant mistakes and send it to the wrong person, which has also been me, because everybody is in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry, and they don't realize that even the slightest mistake in the examples that I just gave you can make you look borderline incompetent. As most of you probably know, I renovate houses now also on the side, and I deal a lot with different customers. And I make it a point to go back and make sure that all of my words are very controlled and my decisions about how I'm going to word things are really well said, because in the end, I know that it may make me seem like a non-professional, which is what I never want to be, or seem unempathetic, because one word can change that whole saying, right? It can make things look completely different than what they really are. So today, I want to talk about controlled decisions. So what is a controlled decision? A controlled decision is when you think before you speak, you think before you act, and you look at the consequences first. What impact will this decision have on those around me in the long term and the short term? So an example of that would be if you send a harsh text because you're mad at somebody and you're irritated, and this has happened recently with my fiance and her business partner, it just causes more of a reaction. It creates more drama. It creates more impact, has more impact in a negative way than a positive way. And most importantly, it jams up your world, right? It jams up your time and your mind because you're busy trying to decipher everything that's being said in there and trying to figure out how you're going to react to the next jab that's going to come back at you. But that's a short term. That's just a short term aspect of what I'm talking about. Let's talk about long-term decisions. I personally made a lot of very quick, indecisive moves and decisions when I had my business, my car dealership, for years. I never took the time to think about what was the long-term consequence. What was the long-term consequence if I didn't manage my money well? What was the long-term consequence if I didn't prepare for my family's long-term well-being by maybe not owning the big, obnoxious house? What are the long-term consequences of maybe taking too many vacations? What impact would this have on me? And what impact would this have on others? Well, the impact it had on me is I was pretty lost. I became the man on the hamster wheel that ran hard and ran fast all the time. And I was able to sustain that kind of pace because I'm a very strong, focused person. Unfortunately, I used all of my energy, every cent of my energy, to try to keep everything moving, when the reality is I could have spent, like I do now, all of that energy and time on personal growth, on reading, on learning, on connecting with people, on having really wonderful, meaningful relationships. I could have spent all that energy on a much more positive thing than on the negative thing of just running, trying to keep up a lifestyle that I really didn't want. So that's the impact it had on me personally. It also affected my health. I believe that you only have so many years to live, and living a stressful, stress-induced life takes years off your life. I think it reduces your overall lifetime. And as everybody knows here and probably heard many times, you only have one life. Or as my banker told me one time when they were mad at me because I kept asking him to cover checks, he said, this ain't no rodeo. I'm sorry, he said, this ain't no dress rehearsal. That's what she said. This ain't no dress rehearsal. She said, I said rodeo because she was, had that Western accent out here in Colorado. But she was right. In other words, what are you doing? What are you doing wasting your time? You're running around like a fool trying to keep this business open, and the reality was it probably wasn't going to work out. So I could ask you, what do you do? What do you do to make controlled decisions? Do you take your time to really analyze and think about the outcome? When you decide to go out and make a major purchase, such as a home or a car, do you actually take the time to think about it? I've got a new habit right now. Anytime there's a big decision, I will write down all my pros and cons. I will put it all together, and I will let it sit for at least 2 days. I'm a big proponent of that. I'm also a huge proponent of the email. If you're writing a very important email, a business-related or a personal email that you're trying to get some point across to somebody, I think it's also really important that you take the time to, again, review that at least 2 to 3 times over the course of a day. Recently one of my clients on a very, very massive 10-bedroom, 10-bath home that I'm doing some work for, I sent them some emails. It's just a bunch of bids. So I sent them a lot of bids, a lot of emails, and I didn't follow my rule. I was in a hurry. They had a deadline. They wanted them by Friday. It's Thursday night. So I got them all together and I sent them all off, and I felt pretty good about it until they kicked it back to me because she's an attorney. And she looked at everything and she said, this is misspelled. This is wrong. And I realized that I was not taking the time to make a smart decision and really control the outcome. So I had to go back and fix everything, and we had a little laugh about it. But that's what I'm talking about with regards to controlled decisions. You need to take your time and analyze everything. The other thing that you got to really think about here is, how does it impact other people? Now, my actions obviously impacted a lot of people. And now I really thrive on not impacting anybody that way. I only want to impact people in a positive light. So if there's anything at all that I think could compromise someone else, whether it can compromise them emotionally, in our relationship personally, compromise them financially, I really take the time to make sure that the decision of what I'm going to tell them or what I'm going to talk to them about has been really thought through. Every single word I try to choose and use, I try to make sure it is coming from a place of love and kindness. It's not coming from a place of anger or manipulation. I take my time to really look at it and see what's going on and make sure that I understand it. And another big thing I like to do is, if it's really important, I'll kick that email or kick that message, or I'll have a conversation with a really good friend. I've got 4 solid, great, wonderful people in my life that I trust with any situation. And I also trust that they'll tell me that I'm either right on target, or they'll say, boy, you're not even close. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Or they might tell me the perception of, wow, you're really self-serving. And that's really important, to have somebody to check yourself and try to figure out what is the message of what you're trying to say and what are you trying to do. So here's what happens. A lot of people get pressured into making a very quick decision. You get pressured by the text message. How many times have we sent a text message out and somebody's got pissed off because we didn't get back to them right away? Like, oh, I can't believe you didn't text me back. I see this all the time, especially when I was a dating and relationship coach with my friend David Wygant. That was the biggest complaint that men had, is they would text women and they wouldn't respond for days. They would get very, very annoyed and irritated and eventually send something really kind of heated and obnoxious. And of course, then their opportunity would be completely blown. So I think having a very long no list and a very short yes list is important. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to talk to somebody, rather than lead them on that you're going to talk to them, quickly kind of address it without leading them on, without letting them think that there's some possibility. If somebody's asking you to do something and you, for a split second, think to yourself, man, I need a lot of time to think about this decision. Don't go dark, which, going dark is fine too, but I'd prefer you to say, hey, listen, I need to think about that. I'll get back to you. Or, thank you so much for reaching out. Give me some time to get back. Give me some time to digest it, and I'll get back to you. take some time to say no first. This is something I've learned the hard way. Always say no first if you have any doubts. And to be quite honest, I say yes quickly to pretty much nothing because I always want to sit back and look at my personal time, all the things that I have going on in my life, and try to decide if that is how I want to spend my time. I want to sit back and figure out, is this going to serve me? Is this going to serve this other person that I'm talking to? Am I able to deliver what they may or may not be asking? And that may be something as simple as, hey, can you come pick me up from the car dealer after I get my car worked on? It seems like a very simple, small task, right? But how many times you're like, yeah, no problem. And then they tell you, oh, by the way, the car dealer is 40 minutes away across town. And can you pick me up at 4:30 on a Friday? So you're stuck in traffic and your whole night's blown. And that one little trip, that one little yes becomes nothing but a burden and something that you resent because this person even asked you in the first place. And it's not really their fault because you had the chance to say no. And that's what I think people really need to focus on. Take your time. Think about your consequences. Think about the consequences on others and make controlled, slow, methodical decisions. Slow down. Don't answer that text message right away. Turn all your alerts off on your phone. You don't have to get back to somebody right away. It doesn't have to happen. There's no law that states you have to. There's no reason why. It's your time. It's your life. And I'm telling you that the freedom that it creates, you're going to thank me for it because I have a lot of very constructive time in my life right now. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very blessed. But it is not by accident, my friends. It is totally controlled by me, and it's totally been planned. And once you start doing this and once you start realizing how much positive, wonderful time you have and how much more the conversations you have are really, really strong and more meaningful, you'll realize that saying no first and making very slow, controlled decisions is by far the best thing you can do. Well, that's it. That's all I have today for the Pitching the Truth podcast. Just wanted to make sure we get something out there for you guys, and I greatly appreciate all of your support. If you like what you hear, please give me a rating down here below at iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to reach me, you can email me at greg@veracitygp.com. I would greatly appreciate it. And that's all I got for now. Thanks so much.